It's time for the Apple Watchcast. Apple Watch Series 7 rumors on the rise. Apple redesigns its online store. Apple TV Plus misses out on another acquisition, and a famous painting reimagined with Apple Watch. Plus a review of Speed Check app, Aguara Home Alarm, and the Apple Developer's Guide for Accessories. This and much, much more. It's all coming up next on the Apple Watchcast. The Apple Watchcast is brought to you by the wonderful support of our Patreon subscribers. Become a patron of the Apple Watchcast, and for as little as $1 a month, you can help us keep producing this show and get a little something extra in return, like access to bonus episodes, Apple Watchcast gear, and even be a guest on the show. So check out our page at patreon.com/Apple Watchcast to subscribe and become a patron of the Apple Watchcast. This is the Apple Watchcast, episode 391, recorded Sunday, August 8th, 2021. The Stormtrooper Apple Watch.
It's time for the Apple Watchcast. Apple Watchcast, a podcast dedicated to the Apple Watch.
It's time for the Apple Watchcast, where we talk about any and everything Apple Watch, Apple's most personal and healthy device yet, and the number one watch in the world. I'm your host, Tom, and joining me is Vincent. Welcome to the show, Vincent.
Aloha.
Okay, now we're... You throw me off every time. Okay. Now it's Hawaiian. I love it. Okay. Also joining us is Chris. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Mahalo?
Yeah, okay. I like that.
All right.
I got a sad notification in my Facebook. You know, they throw up a memory for you. 5 years ago this week, guess where I was? Hawaii.
On the island.
I was on the island.
Oh,
Hawaii.
yeah.
I don't want to be reminded of that. Because we were supposed to go again this year. And,
exactly.
So anyway.
So was I.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gonna have to wait. Go ahead.
I just say I went to a wedding yesterday. It was a second wedding. They got married last year, so they just kind of had the wedding and the party last night. And I hadn't seen some of my friends in a couple of years, and they're walking up like, man, these dudes are old, and I'm like, oh crap, I am too.
Yeah. Oh, it is amazing. We weren't going to go just because of the car rental situation, in Hawaii. But now, there's another surge of COVID and all that. So maybe a while before we get there, but we'll go back one day.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So completely threw me off from the show here.
We can dream about that kind of fun stuff someday in the future.
Yes. Looking forward to it. So here we are, losing my voice again. Here we are in September. Listen to me. It's August. I want it to be September. I want to know what the new stuff is from Apple. We're almost there. But because it's August, all we're getting are rumors, and we've got a few of those to talk about today, especially with the Apple Watch Series 7. As I was kind of going through these, I was kind of reminded of the fact that at this time last year and years before, we kind of knew more about the new stuff. I think Apple's doing a better job of keeping it under wraps this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they flushed out the guys that were talking with that fake stuff, earlier in the year. They flushed it out.
I think so. And I think that's why you're not hearing as much, which I kind of like. Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot to talk about, but that's fine. I love being surprised on the actual day of the event, but not a whole lot. There's just, again, spotty kind of rumors and conjecture based on different things, that they're trying to read the tea leaves here on what it might be. But one thing here I want to mention up front, this is from Mark Gurman, mentions that he thinks that Apple may discontinue the Edition, the high-end Apple Watch, completely. That there won't be any. There won't be titanium. There won't be, none of that.
Right.
What do you think of that? They've never done. They've always had some sort of edition, right?
I think so. Well, I mean, I've had the titanium the last 2 rounds, and I really like it. And I mean, I'd probably go back to stainless steel, but
that's what I did this year.
Man, yeah.
But you know, the ceramic was one that they've had out twice now. That was part of the edition. But I'm thinking if they do that, that's a move. That's more of a cost thing than anything, right? It's not marketing. It's the idea that now there won't be a high-end, expensive Apple Watch. They'd all be more affordable, right? If there's no edition.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, Tom. I thought they were kind of just bringing I don't want to say down a commodity because it is not a commodity by any means, but bringing it down just to here's base watch prices and just go with it and don't do anything fancy. It could be supply chain. It could be cost on their end to make, a small amount of high-end devices is just too costly for them. I mean, a lot of things could be in that. Right.
But I guess you're right. It's also a reflection of how many, and we'll never know, of the high-end edition did they actually sell? Is it worth it? Gurman says, this is his quote, "Seriously, what's the point of spending $800 or more on a watch that will be outdated in 1 year and non-functional in under 5? Ooh, that's a pretty telling statement, which, kind of makes sense. If if the 5 year, I guess he's saying that software wise, it won't be supported anymore. So, what would happen to that? I still have my original Apple Watch. I haven't taken it out or turned it on in a while, but I assume it's still going to work. I just can't update it anymore, right?
Correct.
So it's not that it wouldn't work; it would be outdated. But I don't know. I think people spend that money for a particular version of the watch because they'd like it. It's just like any other watch. Otherwise, we'd all be wearing cheap Timex watches or something. We wouldn't there'd be no such thing as a luxury watch market of Rolex or anything like that. They all tell time, right? Exactly the same. It's the feel you have when you're wearing that, correct? That's where the value is. But I guess what he's saying is that it may lose that allure over time.
No pun intended.
Yes. No, always intended. Always intended. If it will lose that allure if it's no longer up to date or can't do the latest thing. I understand that. That makes a little bit of sense. But, again, I would love it if they came out with a ceramic again, though. That would be fantastic. And maybe that's something they do every couple of years, but
I know we're going to talk about some of the rumors on the design change, and I kind giving my opinion prior, I kind of like it. I saw the rendering. I thought that looks kind of nice. If they did that in ceramic for 7, man, I would buy it. I really would. And I know we'll get to that story, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But agree, I think that people make a choice to buy the higher end of stuff, and they would still make the choice. I think now thinking through this, it could be an Apple thing, an Apple cost alignment. They don't make enough profit on it, which who knows? I
don't know. But, for Apple though, there's a lot of things you would think that
does profit on that device matter when they make $20 billion, right?
Exactly, and they make so much on the lower cost line as well. So I don't know. I don't know if they. This will be interesting to see. Again, we're kind of in the dark here. We don't have anything concrete. But Gurman's been pretty reliable on a lot of stuff. So,
yeah. I'm wondering whether or not some of the higher end materials, like to be able to bring ceramic down to the mass market version. I mean, that would be awesome to be able to, replace the aluminum, make that kind of the more sporty one, and then the standard. It's not stainless steel or anything like that, but the ceramic or titanium. It's funny because I'm colored by what I'm going to talk about. What I like about this week in terms of the materials that accessories should be made from. So, yeah.
Well, do you think? I mean, I don't even remember what was the cost of the ceramic. Was it like $800?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
More, wasn't it?
No, ceramic was like $1,200.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Titanium was,
if you went, especially if you went with the cellular version. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the cost of the ceramic or titanium that made it that pricey, or it's just the marketing around it that made it.
Probably a little of
Probably a
both.
little of both.
Yeah, the ceramic is quite the. In fact, I remember you did a whole background on ceramic, Vincent, on the manufacturing of it, and it is quite the process. But
yeah, that's true.
Which makes me wonder if Apple would abandon all the research and development they did in that to not ever use it again. I'd love to see ceramic in different colors. And then it'd be fantastic. But
yeah. Well, I had that, I think it was the 5. I had that white ceramic cellular watch in my outbox.
Yeah.
And I just never hit buy, right?
Same here. Yeah.
And I really, really, really wanted it, but I was like $1,300. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do it, So I went with the stainless steel that year. I just remember it was really costly. And I do remember that review, Vincent, what you liked that week. It was about 2 years ago. And it did talk about, that was a lot of effort to make a watch.
Right. But when you did that, Vincent, it made me think at the time, how exciting it was going to be that Apple would continue to do ceramic watches in different colors and different finishes or whatever. But not so.
Not even close.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess we'll know next month what they're going to do.
We will.
Now, based on that, this might give a little more insight into it, and this is why people are talking about it this week, is Apple has registered new Apple Watch models with the Eurasian Economic Commission, the EEC, ahead of the actual release of the devices. They do this every year, and we actually have numbers here from the filing. We have now sit down, get ready. There's 6 numbers here: an A2473, A2474, A2475, A2476, A2477, and A2478. Those are the 6 models, at least in Europe, that they've filed for. And we know based on previous filings that those are indeed Apple Watches. But there's only 6 of them. Last year there were 8. So there's that coupled with Mark Gurman's rumor tells me we might be missing something this year, like the Edition, but it could also be something like the SE might be gone. Who knows?
Can they reuse like the current ones? I was assuming that they would continue to sell the 6 as kind of like the last year's model, and keep it on the.
They didn't last year. They got rid of it. There's been several years where they've gotten rid of the previous current model completely, and we were left with the Series 3. My question is, does the Series 3 can live another year, or is it gone this year?
That's so awkward. It's in terms of the updating and
right. Which I think with the new OS and some of the stuff that's come out, they've developed a way to actually do the update on the 3 now, which makes me think maybe they'll keep it.
Yeah.
Even though I think it's probably too old, but it sells well. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so to Vincent's point, I mean, these are 6 new numbers, but the old numbers would still be there, wouldn't they?
Would they just renew the deal? I guess
that's my assumption.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. They'd renew old numbers, but I don't know.
So anyway, there's another article here that breaks down the codes, and they're trying to read a code within the codes of these numbers here. That's how desperate people are for information. But what they're saying is that based on these numbers, that there's going to be 2 GPS only Apple Watches. Okay, for the new series. One in a 40 millimeter and one in a 44, and that they're saying there's going to be 4 GPS plus cellular codes. All right, based on the numbers. And then they say the bad news is, like we just mentioned, last year there was a total of 8, 2 for 2 of those were for the Watch Series 6 GPS only, 2 for the Watch Series 6 GPS and cellular, and 2 for the Apple Watch SE, right? Both cellular and GPS. And that tells them that categorically no Apple Watch SE 2 is coming soon.
Okay. So based on what you just said, they do reuse numbers. So that the number for the 3 is still out there, and it'll still be out there.
Possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Doesn't mean they won't cancel it or don't offer the product, a new product, or continue the product, but it's still out there.
Now, what's confusing is they don't have a separate code for the material. Aluminum versus stainless steel versus titanium.
Just functions.
Or even versus Nike or Hermes. Right? Those are, all of those are lumped into the same code for a particular watch. So don't know.
I can see that. It just they're just coding the functionality of the watch, not the configuration of the watch, if that makes sense.
Right. And the other thing we're assuming is that these codes, this is all Europe, that they would also apply to the US. We're assuming they're going to be the same. We don't know.
Right. This is actually a pretty good indicator that they're going in with 5G. I mean, with 4 of them having to have cellular, so for it to work.
It's possible because, as you mentioned, Chris, and we'll talk about it here now, is this new design that's been rumored that the watch would be redesigned with flat sides to it, which I said initially back when the first 5G iPhone came out, redesigned with flat sides because of the antenna configuration. My assumption was eventually we'll get a watch the same way, and that the watch would have, in order for the watch to have 5G capability, which sounds silly on the surface, but in order for it to have that, it would need to be redesigned with flat sides, which would also match all the other designs of the flat sides that Apple's been putting on everything. So maybe we will get that. Don't know.
Yeah. I would like that. I'd like it.
Yeah. Interesting. That, along with the other internal things that they've talked about changing, about the double-sided chip, right? That they mentioned, the double-sided system and package. The what was it? The screen would be thinner somehow. All these little things to add a little more space within the watch to possibly give you a better battery life, is the other rumor.
This is going to be the most advanced and magical Apple Watch ever.
Yeah. Well, I think you can guarantee that every year.
Without any new sensors. But I was reading the article about that article in the watch battery. To me, to be effective, it has to be in day increments. It can't be in like hour increments or half a day. I mean, if it lasts a day now, which it essentially does, you put it on your stand at night.
Yeah.
If it lasts a day and a half, who cares? You're still going to have to charge it every night because you're not going to charge it in the middle of the next day. It has to be in 24-hour increments to really make a difference, doesn't it?
Well, here's the problem. If there's no new sensor this year, which it's looking like there might not be, there may not be a blood pressure blood sugar sensor. There may not be a temperature sensor. Those all may be coming in future Apple Watches. But the changes they've made may boost the Apple Watch battery slightly this next year. But once those sensors come out in following years, they're going to have another battery problem.
I thought the same thing. Yeah. So you don't want to over promise now and then take it back in the future. That would be absolutely terrible.
Right.
So they're going to, the same guys that are doing the air power are in the same room solving that problem.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's. Oh, by the way, did you see? I didn't put it in the show, but someone got a hold of the prototype and showed it in use. Someone's using it now. I don't know who got
air
it.
power?
Yeah, the prototype.
Oh,
yeah.
No, I didn't see that. I'll have to Google it.
I hope their fire insurance premiums are up to date. Yeah, so we're going to have to see. We'll see what happens here. The other rumor, as you mentioned, was that there would be more battery life this year, which I think the only reason we're going to get battery life is because they didn't have a sensor ready in time.
Yeah, and better, and they're getting incrementally better batting. 3 to 5% is what they seem to get on a release by release basis. So over the course of 4 or 5, you're at 25% more battery, right? But again, if you put a sensor in the Watch 8, it could take all that back. So
yeah, and I think that we talk about the Series 3.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason to get rid of it would be to add more features to the whole line of watches. Because right now there's certain things the Series 3 can't do.
Of course, yeah.
And if you get rid of it and basically upgrade the models here, more features are available to more people. So I think that's another case for getting rid of it, at least. But
that fall detection is critical, especially for,
Well, fall detection and what else? What's the other?
ECG.
Not ECG. What's the other one?
Blood ox.
Yes, blood ox.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, couldn't think. So having those features available on more models of Apple Watch would be better, I think, for Apple. Building this, since they, from a PR standpoint, they tout this as a health device. So, part of the watches you sell are not as healthy as others, basically. So
that's the case.
I think that would help as well. So anyway, we'll see. It's kind of exciting not really knowing what it's going to be. We may be surprised, which would be nice. All right. What else? Go ahead.
Did you also mention that in one of those articles it said there might be a green version? Yeah,
that was rumored before, along with the redesign, which to me, maybe not necessarily the specific color green, but the fact that maybe there may be more colors.
Right.
Because they don't have a different number for that, a different filing code.
They don't. Doesn't seem true.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So they could. You actually could have different colors. You'd have a red version, of course, for product red. This new green. You have a blue. What else could they do? What else would you want?
Rose gold?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
White? Hello? Ceramic?
White. Yeah.
I want the Stormtrooper Apple Watch, right? White ceramic with a white band and a white watch face, right? That's what I want. I want the Stormtrooper version.
It'll prevent you from shooting anything accurately.
Exactly. And I'll miss every time and be guaranteed to be killed instantly when someone shoots back.
That's right.
Wasn't there a comment just on the side here of was it Luke or Mark Hamill who said in one of the shows something about how do they see out of these things, which was kind of a reference to why they're such a poor shot.
Yeah,
they can't actually see out of it. All right. Speaking of movies and stuff, let's move on to Apple TV Plus. There's a little bit of news here. I just wanted to mention. I think we mentioned this before. Reese Witherspoon's production company, Hello Sunshine, was for sale. Apple was touted to be, I think at one point, even the front runner to purchase it. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, no, they did not purchase it. Another company called Blackstone purchased it for just shy of $1 billion. Mm-hmm. Now, her company produces content for Apple TV like The Morning Show, My Kind of Country, what else? Truth Be Told, which, by the way, have you seen that? Truth Be Told is about a podcast.
Mm-mm.
No. I just started Physical. You got me on that one.
Okay.
Let me do one at a time, Tom.
Sure.
I'll put that in my my queue.
This was only, I think, 8 episodes for the first season. We binged it. It was really good. It was very
an hour or 30 minutes.
Close to an hour, and they did renew it. It's coming out in a couple of weeks, season 2 already. So anyway, side note, I enjoyed it. It was pretty interesting, kind of a cold case solving a murder type thing, but through a podcast, which was also interesting. Anyway, she produces that. She produces Big Little Lies on HBO. This company is pretty much, I guess, worth what it was sold for. I mean, those are some big shows. But Apple, again, did not did not purchase anything big here. I don't think they've done a single large acquisition for Apple TV Plus yet, have they?
They've been trying.
Yeah, but not very hard. I mean, they've lost out on several of these deals.
Mm-hmm.
They missed the MGM thing completely. They could have had a whole back catalog of stuff there. It makes me wonder why they're hesitant to spend some money here.
I think they're just holding out for Disney, like I said.
Saving their pennies, right? Well, you know, that is interesting thought. I doubt it at this point. Disney's so big. But, you know, I see other deals being made from Netflix and Amazon. They have no hesitancy in spending huge sums of money.
Massive. Yes,
on just
amazing.
Single projects and things just to get them. And Apple just seems to be shy of that every single time. Again, I know they're trying to build just on their own content. And maybe they think they can organically just grow this that way and don't have to purchase, but
no, the VP of Apple TV Plus is like, we haven't made any money yet. So we're working on it.
Well, neither did Amazon for how many years, right?
Exactly.
Never stopped.
Are they making money yet? I mean, is Amazon making money yet?
Yeah, they are.
Amazon doesn't make money.
Okay.
They just
well, I think they did recently just barely turn something, but but then he turned around and spent it all on going to space. So,
by the way, Tom, I did watch Truth Be Told. That had Aaron Paul, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I did watch that. It was good. I recommend it.
Yeah, it kind of had you going in one direction, and then they changed to another, and then another.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I think Kate Hudson's going to be in the next season. So,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Interesting. And by the way, one of the early investors in Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine was Steve Jobs' widow, Lorraine Powell Jobs.
Oh.
Her collective group was one of the early investors in it. So,
connected.
So it's kind of in the family here. Why didn't they buy it? We'll see. We'll see what Apple does here with Apple TV Plus. Now, the other thing is Apple, they are producing some pretty high-end stuff. There's this new project called Argyle, $200 million film. One movie,
that
$200
looks pretty
million.
nice. Yeah.
About the world's greatest spy. Directed by Matthew Vaughn, who did, what were those spy films? The Kingsman. He did all of those films. It's going to star, get this list now, Henry Cavill, Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, John Cena, and Samuel Jackson. Wow.
Well, that's why it's $200 million, Tom.
That's it,
Yeah,
right
I was
there.
gonna say, that's 3/4 of the budget there.
Right there, just for the cast. But what they're hoping is this will be a franchise, that this will be something they can do like a trilogy of at least.
You know what also said in there that was interesting? That the yet to be released book, typically the books come out first, right? And this looks like the movie, and the book's going to come out first, but the movie was already kind of inked before the book came out. So that's, I don't know if it's a dual deal or the book is that good, or they, like you said, see it as a trilogy or a franchise, which, publishing companies love those and movie companies love those.
Oh, yeah.
They hook you in and you keep buying them.
Definitely. And yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean, if I write a book and want to get it published, does the publisher, they read it first, obviously. Do they then shop it around as a possible film deal, even as they're preparing to publish? Maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think some cases, if they do.
Yeah.
I wrote a couple books about 15 years ago. They're still sitting on my computer.
Oh,
and
no.
a small number of people have read them, by the way. And,
okay.
But I was, going through that process 15 years ago stinks. I think today I could probably go on Amazon and publish them pretty quick. But it's a tough process. No doubt, especially getting a movie deal out of it. It must be really good.
Were these fiction? Is that what it was?
Yeah, 2 fiction books.
Nice. You know what, you have to send it to us now.
Oh yeah, I'll be glad to. I'll send those over to you. No problem. Yeah, just tell me what you like about them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to read them and do a review on the show. So, and now it also mentioned here that Apple already has a relationship with Matthew Vaughn. They're going to release a Tetris biopic starring Taron Egerton next year. So, wow, those two have teamed up now on quite a few things, right? They did all the Kingsman stuff, but it wasn't Taron. Didn't he play Elton John in Rocket Man? Yeah, that was him too. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And then what else? Apple did a production, $100 million Christmas movie is coming out with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. And then they've got another $200 million movie from Martin Scorsese, which is an adaptation of Killers of the Flower Moon with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jesse Plemons. And then a $100 million movie with Will Smith called Emancipation. And then I think next week, a new movie comes out on Apple TV Plus called Coda. But they got it Sundance for $25 million. So they've been spending money. They just haven't done the big deals yet.
They just dropped something last week. Mr. Kaufman, I think it was called.
Corman.
That's
Corman.
Mr. Corman. Yeah. So that's a new one that looked.
I watched the first 2 episodes. I don't know.
Not good.
I did. It's
not Ted Lasso, huh?
It's not going anywhere. No, which by the way, the latest episode was absolutely amazing.
Haven't watched it yet.
No, it's amazing. Amazing. You'll love it. But
I got to do my lead tasso. I'm going to do a lead tasso on someone.
Okay, Vincent, he doesn't understand that, but not yet till you watch the episode. Yeah, that was pretty funny. So yeah, maybe Apple TV, maybe they're figuring they're just going to build this organically, piece at a time and not have to buy a whole back catalog. Again, I keep saying that for Apple TV Plus, it's based on quality, not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what I was going to say too.
That's going to mean you have a smaller, you have less choices of what to watch. Right.
Yeah.
So,
which is a good thing.
It is. I can't tell you how many times I get on Netflix and I just can't find anything decent to watch. It's not that there's nothing to watch. There's just nothing good. Right.
Hey, sometimes, Tom, I put a movie that's 2.5 on just to do it. And I did a Bruce Willis movie. It was like 2.2. And I just watched like 15 minutes. I'm like, I just got to see why a Bruce Willis movie is 2.2. And then within 10 minutes, you're like, yeah, I see why. And then you Google him, right? And you see why Bruce Willis is doing movies that are 2.2. And you're like, before you know it, you're watching cats dancing on YouTube. But I think sometimes I purposely watch crummy movies just to see why and see what's so bad about them.
See how far you can get. Yeah. Speaking of which, Schmigadoon.
Mm-hmm.
We made it 10 minutes.
No, we're working through it.
Oh, God, no.
Watched that yet.
No. Made it through the first musical number and said, okay, we're done.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. That's not going to probably be on my list.
Yeah, couldn't do it. Sorry. I'm not a musical fan. I never have.
Oh, there you go.
So that's
all the musical fans are loving it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It just wasn't for us. So
If I can't pronounce the show, I can't watch it. I'm a simple guy.
I'm sorry. To me, it was almost like watching a bad skit on SNL.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I guess that. Yeah,
yeah, and that's why I turned away from it because. And by the way, that's a good description of most skits on SNL for the past how many years. It's very rare they have something really good.
Well, yeah, Lorne Michaels produced it, so.
Well, okay. Then it's the Lorne Michaels effect. I get it.
Exactly.
Look at that.
I get it.
Wow,
now.
that is some really good, quick research, Vincent. I give you double thumbs up on that one.
Oh, I knew that.
Oh, he knew that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were Googling in the background. Ticky. Oh, Lorne Michaels.
Oh, yeah. That's why. Okay. Now it all makes sense. Okay. Moving off of entertainment, back to business here for Apple. They redesigned part of their website, particularly their online store has been changed. They've updated it. They have a dedicated store section. So there's now a tab at the top that says store that you click on. It takes you to the online store portal. You can select from what they call a product carousel with cards that have the different categories in it. And apparently this is similar to what they had in the past, and they got rid of it. And now they've brought it back. Mm-hmm. What do you think of this? Do you like it? Don't like it?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, it synchronizes with all the look and feel now. You're kind of looking and feeling all the same.
Yeah.
When you hit the store, right? When you hit the store button.
Right. But if you look at the store, the only thing that bothers me, and this is maybe from a graphic design standpoint, I've got the page open right now. Mm-hmm. I got all this dead space on the left-hand side. What is this? It's off-center.
Yeah.
Because of these scrolling carousels, but it looks weird to me. It's like
that's the way to catch your eye. It's marketing, isn't it?
No, it looks like a mistake.
No, you scroll over.
See what I mean?
Well, let me tell you something first of all. It's been years since I bought something on the Apple Store on the web.
Really?
Years.
Really?
I've never gone. I use my phone for all my purchases.
Okay.
Because you can do the Apple Pay on there. I mean,
yeah.
Well, Apple Pay no matter where you buy it. Doesn't matter.
That's true. I don't have it hooked up to my laptop. That's weird.
No, I mean, if I buy something right now online, if I click on this and say buy, it'll pop up on my watch. I approve and done. Yeah.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
I've never bought anything on there.
I don't know. Maybe for habit, I always go to this. If I can go to this first, because that's where I can I got a bigger screen. I can see all the specs, compare. It's a lot, unless I know specifically what I want and can dive right in. Mm-hmm. To me, this is a better way to browse, but I'm sorry. I don't like the design. I think someone in one of the comments in one of these articles about it said, if I had done this, I would have been fired. If I had designed this because of the way it's off center, it's weird. It's bizarre. It really is. I don't understand it from a design standpoint. That extra space on the left.
Yeah, it's a little.
It doesn't bother me in the least bit, but I get it. Someone who you guys are deeply in that business, and it just looks odd to you.
Well, I keep wanting to expand my screen to center it, and it won't center.
No, scroll over. It forces you to scroll over.
It does, but only part of it scrolls. Right? There's sections that don't.
Correct.
It's weird. Anyway, I just. It's pushing my graphic design buttons here. I can't stand it. But I understand why they did it. I just don't necessarily care for the execution here as well.
Yeah, definitely lots of cards.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the idea here is you don't have to click on each category at the main from the homepage.
Correct.
I don't have to click on watch to get to watches. I can just click store and get to everything. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I get that. Yeah, anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Now, speaking of one of the things you can buy there now, which is new, is they now are selling the standalone Magic Keyboard with Touch ID.
Yeah.
For $150. Now, sounds great, except when you realize in the fine print, you have to have an M1 Mac for that to work.
Mm-hmm. You got to be very careful about that.
Yes, you can't just stick this on your current machine unless it's an M1.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is great, though, if you have the Mac Mini, right, which didn't come with a keyboard or mouse. You can now get this keyboard with Touch ID, which is pretty cool, for $150. And the one with the numeric keypad is $179. So, but they're not in colors. That's the other thing. They're not in colors like the iMac keyboards. These are still your silver and white keys version. But you do get the braided Lightning to USB-C cable. The braided cable that first came with the new iMacs. You do get that with these, which tells me that will probably be the norm going forward for Apple, is to use those cables.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the design of this keyboard is a little different. It's very rounded, the corners, isn't it?
There it is. Yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah, that's a lot different than you get those really rounded keys in the corners too.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, and this last thing I want to mention, I just thought this was super cool. I saw this on Reddit. Somebody took the famous painting by Salvador Dali called The Persistence of Memory with the melted clocks, and they did an Apple Watch version of it. I think it's spectacular. I love this. I'm going to print this out, frame it, and put it on my wall. This is fantastic. Calling it modern surrealism. But how cool is that with the Apple Watches? It almost makes it a cooler kind of interpretation of it than what the original was, you know? I didn't know this. The original painting by Salvador, it was 1931 is when he painted that. You know, you look at it and you think it's a modern, you know, it's in the Museum of Modern Art.
Right.
You don't think of 1931 as being, I guess that's when there was a movement then for that. No one had done anything quite like this before. There's no mention as to whether drugs were involved in the creation of this, but it seems like there might have been just a little bit. But anyway, I love this interpretation of it. This should be our logo for the show.
I just wondered what you know. There's three renditions, or you know, alignment of renditions of faces on there. I wonder why you picked those three.
I don't know. It's interesting. I guess just to represent the
Obviously,
different.
there's many you could have. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say it's probably just to represent the different things that are on the watch, right? Activity, the actual time, a calendar. Very cool. Very well done. I'll put a link in the show notes for this so you can see it, but congrats. Now I'm thinking, okay, what other famous paintings that have a watch in it somehow you could redo with an Apple Watch? I'm going to do a whole series of these because that's fantastic. That's just awesome.
Instead of the screen, you could do the screen.
The screen. And they're holding an iPhone. No, they have an Apple Watch. Yeah, I love it. Oh man, but yeah, this I've never seen this in real life. I've never been to that museum to see the actual painting. I wonder how big it is. A lot of these paintings are smaller than you think.
Yeah, I was there. I don't remember. I guess I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I did. I've seen been to other museum in New York and seen other things, but I don't.
Same here. I haven't been in the modern art one.
Right. Maybe next time we're in New York, I may have to.
I think I went to one 2-3 years ago. I went to one. I just happened to be in my hotel with nothing to do, and something popped up. It said free. It was like 2 hours. You can go to this museum for free. Just walk in. I did it, and it was kind of fun, but I just can't remember what museum it was. I could probably figure out pretty quick because I know where I was staying.
Yeah. But anyway, really cool. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes. You can have a look at this. All right, let's move on to. Oh, by the way, anything else in the news? Did I forget?
I think that's about it.
Yeah. I think that covers it. I think that's it.
It's quiet.
Okay, let's move on to what we like this week. Chris, why don't you kick it off?
Sure, Tom. Let me get to my screen here. All right, I'm going to talk about another accessory for HomeKit that also has watch access. And I've been really working the HomeKit. And one thing I'm going to do in the near future, by the way, probably in September, October, and what I like this week is kind of just inventory all the different technologies I have on HomeKit now. There's probably like 12, to be honest with you. It's all over the place, but it's all about how HomeKit brings it together. So that's a future what I like this week.
Okay.
Now, I've been experimenting with alarms. I've had a lot of them. And after I dropped ADT, the home alarms, I've had a number of them, including building one on my own with the HomePod. But it was just too unstable. It would just go off when you're watching TV or something, and your dogs don't like that. Believe me, when your alarm goes off in the middle of the afternoon. So I shopped around, and I found this one called Aqara, Aqara. So I guess Aqara. And they have other products, but it was on Amazon. And for a hub, sensors, and motion detectors, it was like $100.
Whoa. And
the two other things that I really liked: one, HomeKit enabled, and two, the hub plugs into an electrical outlet. It doesn't connect into. You don't have any wires. More wires for your home is disastrous. So
right.
So I said okay, and then I went on the reviews. Very high reviews. I thought, okay, I'm going to buy it. So I forked out to $100. It showed up. And the first thing I noticed, the motion sensors are about as big as your thumb. So instead of these big, gross motion detectors that you had everywhere else, these things are small and you can hide them really well. I was like, that's a nice design. And then second, setup, unbelievable. It took me more time to open the packages than it did to set up the system. You plug in the hub, it connects to your Wi-Fi, it connects to HomeKit, and then it takes 10, 15 seconds to connect each device. Using the double-sided tape, you put them up, boom, done. So this Aqara alarm, under $100, it has a great interface in HomeKit. Turning it on, it has a home version, so you don't turn on your motion sensors. It has an away version where it does turn on your motion sensors, and then it has all the notifications to your devices. So, I'd gone 2 or 3 years really trying to figure out what I want to do with my home alarm, and this one I really like. So again, Aqara is the system, and I highly recommend it. And I really like it this week. How's that?
Nice. Way to go.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, they keep making advances on this stuff.
They do.
Yeah, I had purchased the Simply Safe system, installed it. Everything was great. The next month, they redesigned the whole thing. Everything looked different, had more features, whatever. That got in on the so you automatically have an outdated system. And I guess my point is they just keep updating and changing the way things work. But to get that HomeKit connectivity is key. In anything.
And if they
go ahead,
if they redo this one, I'm out $100. I'm not out of $300 or $400.
Exactly. But it is HomeKit enabled, so you're good.
Oh, yeah. Really? Yes.
That's the main thing I want to replace is everything that isn't HomeKit.
That's what I've been doing in some cases, and which when I go through my complete assessment next month or so, I'll kind of go through what I replaced, which I've talked about in the show. I've replaced some HomeKit stuff with some HomeKit stuff, and I've brought some new stuff in. So it's a pretty comprehensive alignment.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, on top of Simply Safe, I have Ring, I have Nest. None of those work with HomeKit without some sort of hoop to jump through from a third party. Yeah. So it'd be nice to have everything just HomeKit enabled.
Yeah, what's interesting is with HomeKit, I don't know how much data, like it's better than I would assume than an app that you have to install from the manufacturer. I think Aqara is owned by the Xiaomi company. This is their automation side of things, but it's like I don't want to install another manufacturer's app, and you don't know what information is being sent back. But at least in HomeKit, I think it's isolated to just the action that it needs to do. Through Apple. Yeah.
Well, it's just simpler to go to one location to control everything. I mean,
that too.
Yeah. I've gotten used to really, how I've aligned my rooms. That's changed. How you line you got the home screen on HomeKit where it's like the landing page. I have to redesign. I've got that. So I've really honed it down pretty well. And my house is pretty smart. And then one thing I had in my notes here I forgot to mention, I've kind of redesigned my complications now that I have, HomeKit as a complication, and I do a lot for my watch. It's a little, it's a little, you got to use the digital crown to scroll up or down versus going to your phone. But if I'm just sitting there, I just do it with my watch, you know. So I control my Apple TV and control my home from my watch.
Well, the other nice thing about HomeKit integration is usually you get Siri integration, right?
You do, yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Vincent, what do you got this week?
Well, speaking of accessories, I was digging around the Apple's website, and for some reason I was just Googling, I guess, Apple Watches, like build your own, because I'm just curious whether or not, how much effort it would take. I landed on their accessory design guidelines, which is a 300-page document that specifies everything about anything you want to build for Apple products as an accessory. So funny enough, on their main landing page, Apple Watch bands is one of those things that they highlight. Wow. And it's pretty intriguing. I mean, obviously the other one is Apple AirTags. I mean, I guess that's the big deal now. I mean, just to create accessories for that, and you have to go through that. But this document is fascinating in terms of just the details that you need, and the guidances that you would have to follow to make sure that you're not blocking the antenna, what type of materials they recommend or recommend you don't use it from. But like just skipping over to the watch band section, obviously the first big guidance is, a well-designed band securely attaches to the watch.
Yeah. Number one, it should lock in. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes.
It should lock in. It should not interfere with the operation. I mean, they go into the details of how the lugs should work, obviously, and you can buy apparently a bunch of batches and batches of pre-manufactured lugs that you can connect to whatever band you want. But obviously, the lug should lock into the lug latch feature, and it should work. I didn't know this thing here, but you have to be very mindful of the sharpness of the bands and the lugs. There's a international guidance for that, so make sure that you kind of buffer those off so you don't cut people with that. Bands should not integrate magnetic chargers. It's literally written in there.
Really?
So no band should have magnetic chargers. So it's not because they haven't tried. It's because Apple says you shouldn't have it.
Okay.
It should also pass a 72-hour salt mist test, which is something that's pretty cool. So I guess you spray salt water on it and make sure that it doesn't corrode. The slide out force should be able to resist 5 to 20 kilogram forces of lateral movement, right? So it doesn't just slip off. And then 20 kilogram force of greater force pull. So just pulling on the band doesn't, just pull it off your arm. They go on to talk about, taking into consideration the weight of the Apple Watch as you create your band. That you have to make sure that the band keeps the user's skin from maintaining direct contact, because obviously it won't work for the health measurements as well as for Apple Pay if it kind of keeps on slipping off or becomes loose. They mentioned that, hey, think about the shift or dimensional change of the band material based upon weather and just warmth and heat as it expands or contracts. And then they go into this, speaking of materials, they go into the things that may impair or degrade antenna performance. Right at the top of that is steel, aluminum, magnesium, titanium. So I'm sure those are literally the things that are blocking GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and NFC.
Okay.
And so, yeah, they suggest, maybe, you make sure that your plastics don't have that much carbon in them. The blacks don't have that much high carbon, or white paints that don't have a lot of high titanium dioxide loading. This is all these things that are preventing the antenna from working, which this is what makes me curious that, man, they need to go, like the back of all these Apple Watch 6 versions are all ceramic, right? So I'm thinking that the movement is towards something that doesn't block the antenna at all. So like through the glass or through ceramic, perhaps. They go on to talk about, like, you got to allow folks to adjust the watch, obviously, to make sure that it's at least some sort of snug yet comfortable fit. I don't know about the loop, what they were thinking there, but So in terms of lug bodies, they talk about it should be made out of silicone, glass-filled nylon, which I'm assuming that's what the woven is made out of.
Right.
And then stainless steel for the types of lugs. But yeah, then the last part of this goes into just the types of restrictions that you shouldn't make it out of. And just one bullet that caught my eye was you should not make anything that contains or endangers or affects endangered species of flora and fauna in products or packaging.
Whoa.
So that is actually a U.S. act. I didn't know that, but it was very curious. The part that you would be very fascinated with, Tom, I think, from a design and engineering perspective, is that all of the engineering measurements and designs from every angle is on page 278. Starting with the Apple Watch Series 6 44 millimeter. It is just awesome to look at in terms of just the very detailed, all the way down to how much the curvature of the watch on the edges and the corners. man, I kind of geeked out on it for quite a while. I mean, obviously they go into the details with all the other products as well, but the Apple Watch was something I kind of zeroed in on.
Are those frameable, by the way?
They are, absolutely. I was just thinking, like if you could etch this on glass and put an old watch underneath it, it would be so cool.
Neat. Well, now, okay, these are guidelines.
Yeah, these are guidelines.
Not mandatory.
Not mandatory.
Because there's no approval you're trying to get.
I think that if you want to use their badging, like Made For or the M5 program that they do, that you probably do have to meet all these guidelines.
So my idea of taking two lugs and tying a string between them for a band would not work.
No.
Okay. Well, because we all know from getting third-party bands from Amazon that hardly anybody adheres to this, right? At all. I mean, the level of quality is just stunning sometimes.
Right.
Right. The corners that they cut.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fantastic that they go to that detail.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that when the 7 comes out, this would be the first document that actually gets updated. So keep it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, you're right.
What surprised me is it's only 300 pages. What's the font? Is there any pictures and is there fonts? What's the font?
It's your standard, pages kind of document. And it's actually pretty large, 12.1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is for everything though, right? Cases for phones and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Any accessory.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's casting a wide net there.
Yep.
Well, that's good interest, good research again.
Well, what I think is also interesting is the AirTags.
Mm-hmm.
That so if I just want to make a holder for the AirTag, I got to follow specs.
Right. Those are all there.
Of course. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Sure, Tom.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd love to see that, by the way. Now I've got several things I need to print and frame here. All right. What I like this week, as I mentioned here before on the show, they're putting fiber internet into our neighborhood this year. And I'm thinking about switching over. And ever since we bought our house like 25 years ago, we've only had one choice in this neighborhood, and that was Comcast Xfinity. And I've upgraded to their fastest service, and it's great. Not too many complaints in the last year or two. Great download speeds, but only so-so upload. The new fiber service, this is from Frontier, would offer less download, but much better upload. So it's kind of tempting because it is fiber, kind of a parity connection there. Anyway, that just goes to explain why I've been testing my internet speed a lot lately. And whenever something seems off, I'll go jump on there and test it. I'll check it on the desktop or I'll check it on my iPhone, and I'll do it through different sites to get a sense of the true speed. I think that the ISP's testing is always tipped in their favor to make it look a little bit better. A bit of putting their thumb on the scale, so to speak, in testing, because you're kind of going right to the source. So anyway, I like to test different sites to do that. So that way, I think you get more of an accurate connection speed that way, what you're really getting. Anyway, that got me to thinking about testing the speed of the Apple Watch. What is the speed of the internet connection on the watch? Would it or could it even be as close as the phone or the iPad or the Mac? Well, there's not many apps out there built for it, as I discovered. Plenty for testing on the iPhone or the iPad, but there's only a handful on the watch. And the first one I tried was called Net Speed Test. And it works fine on the phone, but I have yet to get it to even be able to try it on the watch. All I get is a red circle that says no internet, even though I've tested it, with just cellular on. I tested it with just Wi-Fi connected. Then I did it with both. Then I tested it after I did a delete and reinstall with multiple Apple Watch restarts. Nothing. It just doesn't work. And I have a support ticket in with them, and I'm waiting on a reply. Now, it could be that I'm running the beta on the watch, and maybe that's the issue. Anyway, so I tried another app called Speed Check, and this one works just fine. My current internet is a 1 gigabit download and a 40 upload. That's what the numbers say I'm supposed to get. Now, I only get that on my Mac when I'm running Ethernet. On the iPhone, if I'm using Wi-Fi, I'm going to get about 200 to 250 download and about 5 or 10 upload. On the watch, I got about 3 megabits for both up and down, 3.5 or so, which was kind of interesting. So I looked online, and some people were mentioning issues with the Apple Watch and speed tests because of Bluetooth interference. So I turned off Bluetooth on the watch, ran the test again, and I got almost 20 megabit download and 3.5 up. So that's a huge difference in the download from 3 to 20 because of Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is definitely doing something. So if you're connected to Wi-Fi and you're having issues downloading music or streaming a podcast, buffering issues, definitely turn off Bluetooth, and I bet you'll get a better connection. Now, that doesn't help you if you have Bluetooth headphones or you're trying to listen to something through them. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that the speed of the internet connection on the watch is affected by Bluetooth. So that makes you wonder that if a 5G Apple Watch may be coming one day, it will actually make quite a difference in performance, right? With streaming, Siri responses, anything you do that requires a connection to the internet would be that much quicker. So anyway, that's it. And by the way, the app that I got to work on the watch, Speed Check, it is horrible to use on the iPhone. Their business model is almost daring you to delete the app.
Wow.
The app is free, but when you run a test, a speed test, before it gives you the results page, it loads a full screen ad, usually for a game, that you cannot get out of until it finishes playing. And only then do you get an X in the corner to dismiss it, which then takes you to a full page ad to upgrade to their no ad version for $8 a year subscription.
Goodness.
Just to see the results of using it. That is the most horrendous thing I've seen in an app in quite a long time. Just offer me a paid version up front, one-time fee, $4, something. It's just annoying. It makes me want to delete the app and just forget it. It's not worth it. But anyways, you only want to get to work on the watch, which doesn't have an ad on it, by the way. So yeah, very interesting. So I'm coming to the conclusion that, yeah, your watch can only get a certain speed, right? I mean, if I'm getting 250 through Wi-Fi on my phone and I'm only getting 20 on the watch, what's the difference? The chip in the watch? Is that really what it is? So you're saying it's running at what? 3G or less speed?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's all it needs.
Right. So 5G would be awesome on the watch. But even at that, if you went to 5G on the watch capability, you're still only going to get a certain speed, I imagine, compared to everything else. But yep.
Be prepared. Be prepared for the 5G. Just add an extra $10 to $15 a month.
Oh God, don't say that. Yeah, I doing this testing with this kind of made me question the whole $10 a month anyway. Like, really, has that been necessary? Well, it hasn't, because I've been traveling, right? So I had, I probably should have just turned it off when this whole COVID thing started. So
it's probably a fair thought, to tell you the truth. I've used it a couple times recently.
Yeah.
But not much.
Yeah, it just. You're right, Vincent. Though they go to 5G, they're going to charge more.
I think so. Yeah. Actually, I'm just looking at this patent the Apple article. Yeah, back in February, Apple did patent it, the 5G millimeter wave antenna. So, There it is.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if the new design, if we see a new design from the Apple Watch that has flat sides, get ready for the next announcement to be 5G. Because there's no reason you wouldn't at that point, right? You're already making buying how many of those chips for the phone? 5G. Now, I guess it'd have to be a different chip, though, wouldn't it, for the watch? Smaller?
It would have to be smaller, I would imagine. Yeah,
or maybe not. I don't know. How big is that chip in the phone?
No idea. I would.
Vincent, that's your task for this week. For what I'd like next week. Tell us the chips.
We want a millimeter description of the size.
How big is this thing? Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else before constant mindfulness reminders cause us guilt and stress by ignoring them, therefore making them even more necessary? It's a vicious loop I've been in this week. It's like I keep getting these notifications. I keep turning them off, and then I don't feel good about that, and then that makes me think I should be doing it.
Yep.
That's wow. That's a concept that's kind of self-enforcing, isn't it?
Yep. It's asked me to breathe a couple of times.
Yeah, well, the new stuff with WatchOS 8, it's a mindfulness thing, so it takes it even further. Anyway. All right, well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you, Vincent and Chris, for being here. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to everyone out there for listening. If you'd like to support our show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Apple Watchcast. It's a great way to continue to produce this show. So check it out at patreon.com/Apple Watchcast. Links to stuff we talk about can be found on our website at applewatchcast.com. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast service you'd prefer. If you have a question about the Apple Watch or about our show, send us an email at comments@applewatchcast.com. Look for us and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. As always, thanks for listening. Stay safe. And until our next show, you're on your own time.
Remember to rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.